My brother stalked my girlfriend, attacked her at a wedding, and now my parents want me to forgive him after he was arrested. They say she was flirting, and I'm jealous, even though we had to move cities just to feel safe. You'd think growing up in a vineyard would be peaceful. Rows of sunlit grapes, crisp morning air, the quiet satisfaction of making something with your hands. That's what people imagined when I told them my family ran a boutique winery just outside Indianapolis. What they didn't see was the rot hiding behind the polished labels. My name is Ethan. I'm 31 now, but this story starts when I was just a kid, probably around 7. That was when I realized my parents didn't really see me. Not the way they saw my little brother, Cole. Cole was only 4, with curly blonde hair, and that kind of smile that made strangers say things like heartbreaker. He was cute, sure. But there was something else. Something mean, just under the surface. And whatever it was, my parents called it spirit. Like the time he destroyed my model airplane. I had spent weeks on that plane, painting every tiny stripe just right. One morning, I found it crushed in the gravel driveway, the tail bent, the wings snapped clean off. Cole stood there, holding the pieces with that smug little grin. He was just being curious, my mom said when I burst into tears. He's got such a creative energy, Dad added. You should be proud he wanted to play with your toy. 2 days later, Cole got a brand new model plane. Better than mine. Still in the box. And just like that, it became his thing. My plane was forgotten, tossed in the trash like a candy wrapper. I learned early, Cole breaks, Cole gets. Ethan swallows it. Things only got worse as we got older. Cole's tantrums turned into full-blown performances. Screaming fits in restaurants, dramatic sobbing when he didn't get his way. My parents? They called it passion. Meanwhile, if I so much as frowned, I get the classic line, don't be so sensitive. The worst came one summer afternoon when I was 10. I had this rabbit, Peanut, my first real pet. Sweet little thing with big brown eyes and a twitchy nose. One day, I found the cage door open, Peanut lying in the corner, not moving. Cole was sitting cross-legged nearby, staring at the wall. He must have left the cage open, Dad said, arms folded. I told you not to be careless, Mom scolded, shaking her head. Cole didn't say a word, just kept looking at the wall, his fingers tapping against the hardwood floor like he was bored. That night, I didn't cry. I just sat in my room and stared at the ceiling, thinking about all the times I had tried to speak up, only to be told I was overreacting. I knew then what I hadn't wanted to admit before. It didn't matter what Cole did. He would always be their golden boy. I could scream from the top of the vineyard and no one would hear me. They torched the whole place to protect the image. And me? I was just a quiet problem to sweep under the rug. I met Maya at a charity wine tasting event, of all places. It was one of those small-town fundraisers they held every spring, fold-out tables, borrowed glassware, and banners that fluttered too hard in the wind. Our family had donated a couple cases of Pinot Noir to keep up appearances. I was just there to pour and be polite. She showed up late, in scrubs and a worn cardigan, with her hair still tied back like she'd just come off a shift, which she had. I remember her squinting at the wine menu like it was written in another language. Do you have anything that doesn't taste like potpourri? She asked. I laughed before I could stop myself. That depends. Do you hate reds, whites, or all of it equally? She smiled. Honestly, I'm just here for the cheese cubes. We talked the rest of the night. Nothing fancy, just back and forth about her job, my family's winery, the charity. She worked at a community hospital in town and didn't pretend to love it. But she cared, and it showed. Every time she talked about one of her patients, her voice softened a little, like she was still carrying pieces of their stories in her pockets. We started dating a week later. Drinks turned into dinners, then long walks through the vineyard after hours. I found myself telling her things I hadn't even admitted to myself about how I hated the showy side of the wine business, how my parents cared more about the label than the people making the bottles, how my brother could burn the place to the ground and still be called misunderstood. One night, after she'd stayed over, we were sitting on the porch watching lightning bugs blink through the vines. I told her about Cole, about the plane, the rabbit, the years of invisible bruises from being gaslit in my own home. She didn't say anything right away, just reached over and rested her head on my shoulder. Maybe he's changed, she said softly. Maybe he grew up. I didn't say anything, because I knew he hadn't. Cole didn't grow up, he adapted, learned how to sharpen his teeth and smile at the same time. Still, a part of me wanted to believe her, that maybe Maya could bring out something good in my family, that if they met her, really met her, they might behave for once. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I want you to come to dinner, I said one night, as we were folding laundry on her couch. Her eyebrows rose. With your family? I want you to see where I come from, even if it's messy. She hesitated, then nodded. Okay, I'd like that. The following Friday, we drove out to the vineyard estate. Maya wore a soft blue dress. I wore nerves like a second skin. As the house came into view, tall, white-bricked, and fake as a movie set, she reached over and squeezed my hand. Whatever happens, I'm with you, she said. I tried to believe her. But deep down, I knew Cole. And if he caught even a flicker of something I loved, he wouldn't let it go. Dinner was held in the main house's dining room, at the long oak table my parents only used for guests they wanted to impress. The room was dressed up like it always was, low lights, wine bottles displayed like trophies, polished silverware no one ever used on regular nights. Everything smelled like wax and wood and the pressure to smile. Cole was already there when we arrived, standing by the fireplace with a glass of red in his hand. He wore a white button-up rolled at the sleeves, just messy enough to seem authentic. When he saw us, his eyes lit up, too much. "This must be Maya," he said, grinning as he crossed the room. Before I could answer, he wrapped her in a hug that lasted 2 beats too long. He pulled back, but kept his hands on her arms as he looked her over like he was inspecting a bottle of wine. "Wow, you didn't say she was gorgeous, Ethan." Maya gave a polite laugh and stepped back. "You must be Cole." "Guilty," he said, flashing that practiced smirk. "Any friend of my brother's is a mystery to me." I forced a smile, already grinding my molars. It had begun. During dinner, Cole took the spotlight like he always did. Loud stories, exaggerated gestures, wine refills he poured too often. Every time Maya tried to answer a question, he cut in with some charming interruption. "You should have seen Ethan at 15, he said, swirling his glass as he spoke to Maya. "Tried to impress a girl by climbing the vineyard wall, got stuck on the fence and cried for mom." I didn't laugh. Neither did Maya. "That's funny," she said coolly. "You've got a lot of stories about your brother." Cole grinned wider. "He's a goldmine of content. I mean, you must know by now, he's always been the sensitive type." Dad chuckled into his glass. Mom gave one of those smiles that didn't reach her eyes. I just sat there, chewing steak I couldn't taste, watching Cole turn our history into a joke, like he was carving pieces off me and passing them around the table. Later, after dessert, Maya insisted on helping with the dishes. She carried glasses into the kitchen while I lingered behind with my dad, pretending to care about his latest tasting notes. Then I heard it. Cole's voice, low but not low enough, filtering in from the kitchen. "You know, you're wasted on Ethan," he said. "He's nice, sure. Safe. But you've got this fire. You need someone who can match that." I was halfway to the kitchen before I even realized I'd stood up. When I turned the corner, I found Cole leaning a little too close while Maya stood stiff, a dish towel clutched in her hands. "Back off," I said flatly. Cole turned, eyes wide with mock innocence. "Easy, big brother. Just chatting." Maya stepped past him, toward me, silent. Her face was blank, but her hand found mine fast, and her grip was tight. We didn't say goodbye. I just walked her to the car, opened the door, and drove. The silence on the way home stretched out like a bridge we couldn't cross. "You okay?" I asked. She didn't answer for a moment, just stared out the window, the lights of the vineyard fading behind us. "I see what you meant now," she said quietly. I nodded, my jaw clenched so tight it hurt. She didn't cry. She didn't yell. But the way she looked out the window, stunned, small, and shaking her head slightly like she couldn't believe what had just happened, said more than anything. Cole hadn't changed. He had just gotten better at smiling while he burned things down. The first message came on a Tuesday. Maya was getting ready for her shift at the hospital, sipping coffee in my kitchen, when her phone buzzed. I only noticed because she froze mid-sip, her eyes stuck to the screen. "What is it?" I asked. She hesitated, then turned the phone toward me. It was a text from an unknown number. "Your blue scrubs make you look softer than usual." "I like it." Maya's fingers tightened around her mug. "I thought it might be a wrong number," she said, but her voice was shaky. It wasn't. That night, she got another one. "You always park in the same spot." Predictable. And the next morning. That smile yesterday must have been for me. I knew immediately who it was, or rather, who was behind it. Cole rarely got his hands dirty. He always had someone else do the legwork. In the moment Maya mentioned seeing Tanner, Cole's old wingman, loitering near the hospital entrance, I felt the heat rise behind my eyes. Tanner had been hanging around since high school. Big on empty threats, light on brains. He was the type of guy who laughed too hard when Cole made someone else uncomfortable, the kind who looked at every woman like she was already his. He didn't say anything, Maya told me, just stood near the front doors with another guy, watching. The other guy was probably Nick, another one of Cole's creep friends from the vineyard parties that got out of hand when we were teenagers. I remembered the way Nick used to brag about reading girls wrong on purpose. If these two were working with Cole, I didn't need more evidence. I knew what this was. Maya tried to brush it off. Said maybe it would stop if we ignored it. But I saw the changes. She started double-checking every door at night. Kept the curtains closed. Flinched when her phone buzzed. She started sleeping with the light on. And the worst part? I couldn't stop it. That's what broke me more than anything. One evening, after Maya called in sick for the first time since I met her, I drove out to the lakeside trail Cole always hiked when he wanted to feel poetic. It was secluded, lined with old trees and smooth stones, quiet enough for a confrontation. I found him there, throwing pebbles into the water like he didn't have a care in the world. "Ethan," he said, arms wide. "Come to enjoy the sunset or lecture me about boundaries?" I didn't answer. Just stood there, fist clenched. "I know it's hard," he continued, still tossing stones. "Watching someone like her drift towards someone like me." I stepped closer. "Stay away from her." He tilted his head. "She's scared, isn't she?" Looking over her shoulder. Probably thinking it's all in her head. That kind of fear, it's intimate. "You sick?" "I didn't touch her," he said quickly, smugly. "I'm not that stupid. I'm just watching. Isn't that what people do when they care?" I walked up until we were face to face. "You ever come near her again, Cole, and I don't care what kind of golden boy reputation you think you've got, I'll end it." He smiled, wide and slow. "There he is. That vineyard rage. Always knew it was in you." I didn't hit him. Not then. Not yet. But I wanted to. God, I wanted to. "I'm serious," I said. "Back off. This is your only warning." Cole stepped back and raised his hands in mock surrender. "Message received, big brother." I didn't believe him for a second. And I knew he wasn't done. People like Cole didn't understand lines. Only consequences. Lena's wedding was supposed to be safe. She'd heard enough family drama to fill a season of reality TV, and she made it clear, no Cole, no exceptions. Her fiancé was a former cop, and half the groomsmen were built like linebackers. There was security, assigned seating, even a printed guest list at the door. For the first time in weeks, Maya and I let ourselves breathe. The ceremony was beautiful, outdoor gazebo, soft violin music, tears in everyone's eyes. Maya wore a pale green dress that made her look calm, whole again. I caught myself staring too long, wondering how I got this lucky in the middle of so much chaos. We danced. We laughed. She even joked about the terrible wine selection. "It's like they soaked a battery in grape juice," she whispered, making me choke on my drink. And for a while, I believed maybe things were finally turning. But predators don't announce themselves. They wait. It happened during the reception, just after the cake. Maya excused herself to use the restroom, smiling, cheeks still flushed from laughing at some story Lena's aunt told her. I watched her walk across the venue, a soft breeze tugging at her dress, and told myself not to follow. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. That's when I heard it. A scream, a sharp, sudden from the hallway near the back doors. I dropped my glass. Didn't even look to see where it landed. Just ran. The hallway was narrow, dimly lit. And there he was, Cole, pinning Maya against the wall, one hand gripping her wrist, the other pressed near her waist. He was drunk, swaying, glassy-eyed, flushed red. His shirt was untucked, tie half off. "You don't get it," he was slurring. "You picked the wrong brother." Maya was frozen. She wasn't crying, she never cried, but her eyes were wide and full of terror. "Let her go," I growled. Cole turned like I'd interrupted his favorite song. "She's lying to you," he spat. "She wants this, she just doesn't know it yet." I didn't hesitate. I grabbed him by the collar and threw him off her. He stumbled into the opposite wall, knocking over a decorative table with a crash. Before he could get up, I was on him. One punch, then another, and another. I didn't stop until I felt arms around me, dragging me back. 2 of Lena's cousins pulled me off while Cole groaned on the floor, blood trickling from his nose and lip. "Stay down," I shouted. "You ever touch her again, you're done. You hear me? Done." The security team showed up seconds later. So did the police. Maya clung to me, shaking. Still silent. I wrapped my arms around her and held her close as the officers handcuffed Cole. He didn't fight. He just looked at me with a broken smile, blood on his teeth. "You always ruin everything," he muttered, as they let him out. One officer asked if we wanted to press charges. Maya didn't answer. She just nodded, once. That was enough. The guests didn't cheer. They didn't gossip. The room went quiet, not out of politeness, but because everyone had seen what he was. What we'd been living with. Maya and I left before the dancing resumed. We sat in the car for a while, the engine off, her hands still clenched in mine. "I thought maybe he'd just stop," she whispered finally. I didn't say anything, because I knew better. With Cole, there was no rock bottom. There was only what he could get away with until someone finally stopped him. And tonight, that someone was me. They called it a family meeting. I should have known. It was Mom's idea, or at least, that's how she framed it over the phone. "Let's talk, Ethan," she said, her voice sugar-coated. "No drama. Just everyone in one place, trying to heal." Maya didn't want to go. Not after what happened at the wedding. But I told her I needed closure. She said, "Just promise me if it turns ugly, we leave. No speeches. No second chances." I promised. We walked into the Vineyard house Sunday evening. Same polished floors. Same candles lit along the hallway like we were entering some sacred space. Everyone was already there. Not just Mom and Dad, But uncles, cousins, even a few of Cole's creepy old friends, Tanner and Nick included. Cole, somehow, was there too, sitting quietly in the corner with a bandage across his nose and a bruised eye. The tension in the air hit us like heat from an open oven. "Thanks for coming," Mom said, standing like she was hosting a PTA meeting instead of an ambush. I scanned the room. The layout, the seating, the way Cole had been placed to look fragile. It was theater, and I was already exhausted. Maya sat close to me on the love seat. Her fingers gripped mine so tightly my knuckles ached. "I know emotions have been high," Mom began. "But what happened at Lena's wedding, it wasn't simple." "No," I said. "It was criminal." A murmur spread across the room. Someone cleared their throat. Uncle Jared spoke next. "Ethan, I've known Cole since he was in diapers. He's impulsive, sure, but you know how girls can be." "Stop," Maya said, her voice sharp. "Don't finish that sentence." All eyes turned to her. She didn't blink. That's when Cole finally spoke. "I never meant to hurt anyone," he said. Soft, broken. Maya misunderstood. "I was trying to apologize." I stood. "You cornered her in a hallway and grabbed her." "That's not a misunderstanding." But they didn't care. Dad stepped in, playing peacemaker. "Look, Maya, you've been through a lot. We all have. But maybe you misread the situation. You've been under a lot of pressure lately, haven't you? Long shifts, emotional strain." Maya's hand slipped out of mine. I turned and saw her eyes wide, stunned. "You think I imagined it?" she said quietly. "You think I hallucinated your son pinning me to a wall?" "It's not about blame," Mom cut in quickly. "It's about clarity. About healing. We need to ask the hard questions. Like, why was Cole tempted in the first place? Why was Maya alone with him?" My mouth went dry. Then Tanner spoke up from the corner. She was smiling all night. "Look, I wouldn't take that the wrong way." That's when Maya stood. "I can't believe this," she whispered, her voice breaking. "You're not just denying what happened. You're rewriting it." Cole leaned forward. "I loved you, you know. I could have given you more than Ethan ever will." Something in Maya cracked. "You don't love anyone. You stalked me. You touched me without consent. And now you're sitting here while your family tries to convince me I asked for it." I grabbed her hand and turned to the room. "We're done," I said. "All of you. You can coddle your golden boy until the whole vineyard burns down. But we're out." "No," Mom cried. "You can't just walk away. We're family." I looked her dead in the eye. "Maya is my family now. And we'll burn every bridge if that's what it takes to protect her." We left to silence. No shouting. No apologies. Just the stunned quiet of people who never thought the scapegoat would finally stop playing along. It didn't take long for the backlash to find us. About a week after the family meeting, Maya came home quiet. Not sad, quiet in that focused, tight-lipped way nurses get when something's wrong but they're still processing it. "I think someone's been talking to people at the hospital," she said, setting her keys on the table. My stomach dropped. "What happened?" She pulled out her phone and handed it to me. An anonymous voicemail. "You really should get help before coming back to work. I mean, patients need someone stable, not someone who flips out over nothing." Then another. "Not everyone at your job's as understanding as Ethan. Just saying." And a third, this time a text. "Crazy looks cute on you, but maybe take a break before someone gets hurt." I felt my jaw tighten. The wording, the tone, the signature smugness hidden under fake concern. It was Cole, or someone doing his dirty work. Tanner, maybe. Or Nick. Or someone else he'd poisoned. 2 days later, Maya was pulled into an unscheduled meeting with HR. They said there's been concerns raised about my emotional stability, she told me afterward, sitting on the edge of our bed, hands trembling. Concerns. No specific names. Just vague suggestions. Someone's trying to paint me as a liability. I couldn't breathe. They didn't fire her, but they offered a soft transfer. A position at another facility across the state. Lower pressure. Different team. No mention of Cole. No direct accusation. Just a gentle, professional shove out the door. "They framed it like an opportunity," she said, smiling bitterly. Can you believe that? I believed it. It was the same strategy my parents used to handle anything uncomfortable. Push it far enough away that they could pretend it never existed. That night, Maya got an offer from a hospital in Dayton. Higher pay. Fresh start. Away from all of this. She stared at the email for a long time. "What do you think?" she asked. I didn't even hesitate. "I think we pack tomorrow." We broke the lease on our rental. Changed our phone numbers. I sold my car and bought a new one in cash. We set up new bank accounts. We started our lives over like fugitives, but we were just two people tired of being hunted. When we pulled away from Indianapolis that final morning, the sky was overcast and low, like it was daring us to go. Maya looked out the window, one hand on her belly, the other in mine. We hadn't told anyone yet, but she was 8 weeks pregnant. We were going to have a daughter. And whatever it took, whatever bridges we had to burn, we were going to make sure she never knew what it was like to feel unsafe in her own home. That was the day I stopped looking back. It had been 3 months since we left. 3 months of quiet streets, new routines, and the kind of peace that feels foreign at first, like a hotel bed that still smells like someone else's soap. Dayton wasn't glamorous, but it was kind. Maya loved her new job. I started working from home, doing remote consulting for small wineries, and on weekends we'd visit bookstores and baby shops like normal people. For the first time in my life, I wasn't looking over my shoulder. Then Lena called. Another wedding. This time, her sister's. She was nervous even asking, told us up front that Cole wasn't invited. Not after last time, she said. I've hired private security. I've got lists. He's not getting near you. I promise. Maya hesitated. I did too. But after a week of quiet, she surprised me. Let's go, she said. We can't spend our whole lives hiding. So we went. The venue was a quiet retreat center in rural Kentucky, tucked into the hills. Mason jars, string lights, that whole rustic chic vibe. Everyone was happy to see us, maybe out of guilt, maybe relief. Either way, no one mentioned Cole. For a while, it felt okay. Until it didn't. It happened just after dinner. Maya went to the restroom while I helped carry a tray of wine glasses back to the bar. When I returned, she was gone. At first, I assumed she was still in the bathroom. But 10 minutes passed. Then 15. Something in my chest tightened. I excused myself and started toward the back hallway. That's when I heard the yelling. And then, a scream. I ran. The door to the women's restroom was half open. Maya's purse lay on the floor just inside. I kicked the door the rest of the way in. Cole had her pinned against the sink. One hand gripped her wrist. The other braced against the mirror. His suit was wrinkled, his hair damp with sweat. He smelled like whiskey and desperation. I said, "Don't walk away from me," he was shouting. Maya was trying to push him off, but he was too close. Too strong. I didn't think. I just moved. I slammed into him, sending both of us crashing into the opposite wall. He swung wild, caught me in the jaw. I barely felt it. 2 more guests ran in, Lena's husband and a security guard. They grabbed Cole and dragged him to the ground. He thrashed, shouting slurred nonsense. "Get off me. You don't know what she did. She wanted this. She asked for it." Someone pulled me back. Another guard came sprinting in. Maya stood frozen in the corner, hand over her stomach, shaking. And then the door burst open again. A third security guard with a body camera already rolling. "You're on tape," he said, kneeling beside Cole. "Everything's recorded." Cops were called. Statements taken. Several guests had seen Cole sneak in through the back fence. One had caught him lurking during the ceremony. Another had a video of him yelling in the parking lot earlier, trying to find out where we were seated. They cuffed him right there in front of everyone. He screamed at Maya. At me. "You don't get to take everything from me." The guests stared. No one moved. As the officers dragged him outside, I saw the faces, some stunned, some angry, some just exhausted. No more illusions. No more excuses. Cole had finally shown the world exactly who he was. And for once, it wasn't just Maya and me who saw it. Everyone did. The fallout was fast, and this time, it didn't come for us. By the next morning, half of Lena's extended family had called or texted us. Apologies. Outrage. Offers to testify. Some had even filmed parts of the chaos on their phones. One of Lena's uncles, a retired detective, forwarded us a copy of the official report within 24 hours. Cole was being held without bail. The footage alone was damning, but paired with the witness statements and his prior arrest, there was no wriggling out. And then came the real bombshell. A woman named Natalie, Cole's estranged wife, contacted Maya directly. She had left him quietly almost a year before, after what she described as escalating psychological abuse. She hadn't gone to the police because she was scared. She didn't think anyone would believe her, not when the Donahue name carried so much weight. But after hearing what happened at the wedding, she came forward. Her statement cracked everything open. Turns out, Cole hadn't just been cruel to me and Maya. There were others. A pattern. One my parents had known about and covered up. Emails. Payments. Even a letter Natalie had written to my mother, begging her to intervene. Mom never responded. But the check she sent Natalie days later came with a typed note. "Let this go. For the family's sake." Maya read that note out loud when the detective showed it to us. Her voice didn't shake. Mine did. Within the week, formal charges were filed against Cole. Assault. Stalking. Violating a restraining order. And obstruction charges were pending for my father, who had been caught sending threatening messages to one of Natalie's friends, anonymously, of course, but not carefully. The dam finally broke. My mother, who had clung to denial like a raft in a hurricane, cracked. She called one night sobbing. I let it go to voicemail. Her message was barely coherent. Between gasps, she confessed that she'd enabled Cole out of fear. Out of habit. Out of this sick idea that protecting him meant preserving the family. "I was wrong," she whispered, over and over. "I see it now. I was so wrong. But it was too late." She wasn't calling to check on Maya or our unborn daughter. She didn't ask if we were okay. She only wanted to be forgiven. We never called her back. Instead, Maya and I stayed in our new world, far from the vineyard, the estate, the rot dressed up in linen napkins and vintage bottles. We got married in a courthouse with 2 friends as witnesses and takeout afterward. No speeches, no drama, just vows that actually meant something. 3 months later, our daughter was born. We named her Claire. She came into the world quietly, with her mother's calm and her father's eyes. And when I held her for the first time, something clicked in me. Something old and aching finally settled. She would never have to wonder if she was loved. She would never be asked to stay quiet for someone else's comfort. She would never grow up in a house where power meant protection only for the cruel. We were different now. Not just free, but remade. Every so often, Maya still jumps when the doorbell rings. I still double-check the locks at night. The past isn't gone, but it's behind us now, not chasing us anymore. And every morning, when I hold Claire and kiss Maya's shoulder as she rocks her in the early light, I feel it in my chest. This is peace. Not because we escaped, but because we finally chose ourselves and we never looked back.